The transmission in my daily Escort is damaged. It was kind of my fault, but the transaxle is kind of totaled. It grinds in drive. It's an auto. So we're going to take this manual out. We're going to put it in the other one. This one is a running, driving, working manual, and this is the reason why I can't drive it anymore. The plan is just pull everything out of here, put it in the other car. We're leaving the engine in the other car, the engine that's in it, because it's low miles and stuff, but we're going to pull this whole engine, transmission, whole 9 yards. Something that I learned recently about these cars is that these blocks back here are actually most of the engine wiring harness, so you can just pop those 2 blocks and pull the engine. Not too much, you have to actually disconnect. But here's what we're starting with. This has got 252,000 miles on it. Transmission is still shifting all right, except in reverse. Reverse is a little funky sometimes, but it still works. That's the important part. So first things first, that battery's coming out. Alrighty then, so to show you what I was talking about over here on the passenger side of the vehicle, here's those 2 block connectors that are on this plastic panel that's clipped into the side of the strut tower here. These 2 are the electrical harness for the upper and lower portions of the engine, and the only thing that runs through this harness that isn't part of those 2 block connectors is the O2 sensor right here that runs off the radiator. So you just unhook it from the radiator, unhook it from the O2 sensor, and just pull it aside. Everything else is on one of these 2 block connectors that unplug pretty easily, unless you have a rock stuck in a clip like I did. But they pull off of here pretty easily, and you can just disconnect everything. So far I've done about 10 minutes of work here. Took out the battery tray, sadly snapped a bolt there, but this frame looks really good. There's hardly any rust in here at all, which is really common for the manual transmissions, but the autos tend to build up rust right here, right on that motor mount for some reason, and right on the frame rail there. I'm not sure what that's all about, but here is the transmission wiring harness and everything there. Actually, this is not wiring. This is part of the EGR system. Anyways, so this is right here is the bracket for the transmission slave cylinder right here for the manual system. The master cylinder is right there on the firewall, right behind this wiring harness. There's this hose that goes down to it from this reservoir. Now, pre-1994, these these cylinders here, brake cylinders, actually only have 3 inlet lines, 1, 2, 3. Past 1994, they have 4. The 4th one being here on the side, or no, I'm sorry, it's the bottom. Anyways, so if you're doing this, make sure you check your years real close. Because whenever you're doing a swap like this, you need this tank. You cannot do a swap without this tank. And depending on the year, the pipes on the bottom of this tank are different sizes. So if it's a pre-94, they're smaller, and if it's a post-94, they're bigger. So you got to keep an eye on that. Alrighty, I want to get video of how far this clutch moves. All the way down on the floor, all the way up, all the way down. I cannot begin to tell you how much I miss driving and working on this old pony Escort that had nothing in it. There's no power steering from the factory, no AC from the factory. I just pulled the alternator bracket and what would have been the power steering pump bracket from this car in less than half an hour. It took me nothing to get it out. It's incredible. And on top of that, if you wanted to add AC to this thing, there's the plug right there on the wiring harness already. So all I really got to do now is drain the radiator before this thing needs to be pulled. There's a couple of connectors on this side that still need to come off, and some hoses up here that still need to come off. I'll probably pull all the hoses. Oh yeah, and the throttle cable. I'll probably pull all the hoses anyways, just to be sure we don't break anything when we're pulling it out. That's also why I removed this bracket again, to be sure that we don't break anything pulling it out, because I want to try and save as many parts from this guy as I can, because once again, this one runs. This one even has brand new struts in it, which may get moved over, we'll see. Okay, I've got the hood pulled off now, but I want to get some video of how this master brake cylinder, slave cylinder, clutch cylinder, how all this works. So the slave is down here. There's a hard line that runs over the transmission, bolts down to the transmission through a bracket here with 2 nuts on either side of it. And then that line goes to a soft line right here, soft line that goes up to the frame right there. That's bolted on with a single bolt, and then from here it goes to the master mounted on the firewall. There's one bolt that you have to take off, one nut that you have to take off above the clutch pedal on top of the clutch safety switch, and then one here on the firewall. So for whatever reason, this back fuel rail connector is always trouble on these Escorts, and I just spent half hour busting off the correct tool that's supposed to go in there, breaking it, hammering on it, all kinds of stuff to get that to pop free, that spring that's in there. It's a big circular spring that has to expand in order for this fuel line to come off. And I found that if you just grab a size 0 flathead screwdriver, ram it in there and pull down on the fuel line, you can just expand the spring yourself little by little all the way around, and you can get those fuel lines off in like 5 minutes instead of 5 hours. Way better. So it is day 2 on our 4-day deadline. It is about 12:30 in the P's of M's here, and we've got the transmission out and separated from the old engine, which is awesome. I did not think that that would happen yesterday. I am very tired though today. I'm sure you can hear it. So we're going to go a little bit slower today. That is the pedal box, manual pedal box. And I noticed something when I was working on getting this guy out of here, is that this hole here, that hole is for the brake pedal valve for the cruise control, which this car does have the cruise control in it. But what I noticed is that there isn't one here. And there's just an electric switch for the clutch. So I'm thinking that the clutch, no matter what you do, doesn't actually do anything to the cruise control. You have to actually hit the brake to get it to shut off. Seems that it was that way from the factory, which is understandable. This is a pretty budget car, and it has weird quirks like that. So yeah, I think that's just the way that it goes. This throwout bearing is going to need some grease. Looks like it was just white lithium grease. I have some of that in a spray can, so I'll just spray some of that in there before I throw it together, and that should be good. This list is the big thing we're doing today. There's a lot of things to go through. We're going to see how many we can get done. Oh, that coolant line needs to be taken off. I need to put that on my list. Yeah. Oh, and real quick before I get too far into this, for those of you who are wanting to do a swap, I'd advise finding another manual Escort, because there are some specific parts that can be really difficult to get your hands on. Whether you find one in a junkyard or have another one around, doesn't really matter, but yeah, there are definitely things that can be really hard to get your hands on. So the pedal box is one of those things. The clutch variant of this pedal box is actually different than the auto, and so you would either have to modify the auto and get it really close to this, which I have done before, or find one of these boxes. You need the computer for the variation of Escort you have, whether it be an EGR computer or not. The way you know is if it's made from 94 on, it has an EGR. If it's before 94, it does not have an EGR. They all have different codes on the computer. You'll have to look up which codes go to what, but this is an EGR manual transmission from a 95. It's going into a 95. There's the code and everything for you. It's that last 2-letter digit on the end of the serial there, the part number, that's important. Okay, and then of course you will need the manual transmission. That's the most important part. You will need the master and slave cylinders, the hard lines connecting them, and the soft lines that connect to them. You need the manual flywheel, clutch, and flex plate. You need the shifter. You need the linkage. These can be really hard to find. The linkages. It's another one of those good to have another car kind of things. These shifter linkages, they're almost all rubber and they like to break right there, right between this plate and this plate. So kind of hard to find those in decent shape. Alrighty, and then the last thing that you need is the master brake cylinder reservoir. They are different from the auto to the manual. They don't have the bung that comes off the side for the master clutch cylinder. So you need one of those. Again, they're different depending on if you have a independent rear brake system or non-independent. Again, it changes from 94 forward. It's independent rear. From 94 or prior to 94, it's a single rear brake line. So you can't use that off of a 93, which I discovered the last time I tried to do this and was almost successful, but not quite. Now that's pretty much all you need. Of course, you need all of the parts that make the manual work. The throwout bearing is one of them. You'll need that. But other than that, I think that's everything for actually making it work as a manual. There's a lot of stuff you got to take out and put back in to get this to work, but it's doable. Well, this was an unexpected find. I was working on removing these radiator lines because the manual does not come with coolant lines from the factory, and I started noticing, wait a second, this doesn't look right. I don't remember these passing through the front end of the car like this, and that's wrong. There shouldn't be a twist hose clamp. They should all be C-spring, or usual these. I think those are C-springs. Anyways, and I thought, well, maybe somebody just replaced a hose. And so I started tracing the lines back to pull it out, and I discovered this. This is a transmission cooling radiator. This is not stock at all. Somebody added this into this car at some point. And from what I can see, it's an expansion off of what's in the regular radiator, which isn't very big. So that's pretty cool. I'm asking around to see if I can tap this into the manual, because I know there's a way, I just don't know how. Whoever is setting these bolts this tight...
Stop it. Get some help.
Alrighty, so we're finally on to the CV joints. So to get these out, so far the fastest way I've found is to get yourself a universal CV joint puller. You'll thank me later. Take the end off here and put it on the back of the transmission, about 90 degrees rotated back. Let's get this down here. There we go. About 90 degrees rotated back and pointed towards the firewall. So a little bit something like this. And it's okay if it sticks out at a weird angle. And then what you'll do, once you get it in a spot where it stays, there we go, smack the end of that with a hammer to drive it in like a wedge. Doesn't matter what hammer you use, doesn't take that much force either. No, I tapped it with the hammer. So now I can actually get my tool behind it, and just a couple pops and boom, she's out. Now this one has been out before, so it may be a lot harder for you initially. This one's actually been in and out a few times out of a couple of transmissions, but when you're doing a transmission job, that's what you're looking for. You want the end off so that I can drop the transmission down. And these suckers will leak a little bit of oil. But that's generally how I'm doing it now, something like that. Put this back in. I used to take days to pull those CV joint ends out. It's ridiculous. Even weeks at a time sometimes, because I didn't have this puller. Makes a world of difference. Alrighty, it is day 3. The deadline is approaching. We've got 2 days left to get all this done. The transmission came out last night. That was a big win. The manual still needs to go in, but there are a few things prep-wise we can do in here still. The steering column needs to come out for one, and the instrument cluster needs to come out because you have to disconnect the speedometer cable and feed it through the pedals in order to switch the pedal box out. So that's all got to come out. The floor shifter has already been removed. I managed to get that done yesterday. The automatic cable and lock switch here needs to come out still. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this automatic cable. From what I can see, to get it out properly, you have to take it through the firewall, and I really don't want to do that, so it may just get tied up in the engine bay for now. We'll see. But more importantly, our goal for today is to tear apart the interior and get the pedal box in, take out all the automatic stuff, put in some manual stuff. Hopefully get all that done, and it'll be less rainy, because part of the reason we're in here is because it's misty outside. It's looking like there's going to be a good old Washington State rainstorm going on here. As you can see on the hood, it's really starting to build up quick. So I'm hoping to get stuff done here and let the storm pass, and then be able to work in the engine bay more. But the heat shield that's down here, this is the automatic heat shield that needs to come out and be replaced by the manual heat shield. They are cut different, so that needs to come out. The linkage needs to go in still, but I'm going to do that after I put the transmission in. I think that'll be a lot easier to do with the transmission in already. I think that the linkage would get in the way if I didn't do it that way. So, off to the races. See, this is one of the reasons why I really love working on Escorts. All it takes to make this automatic center console a manual is 4 screws in the rubber boot. The holes are all there, all the standoffs are there. All you gotta do is take the screws out of one manual and screw it into another. Every Escort is an automatic or a manual, no matter what you do. It's just whichever parts they decided to put in the car in the factory. So something I learned recently with one of my other Escorts is that you can actually, and we'll see if this one will do it, you can actually push this pin in on the speedometer cable. This is speedometer cable. It will come around this side. It will actually push the pin through on the other side here, and you can pull this whole cable out and re-lubricate it. I had no idea that you could do this until I discovered it one day on accident. This whole cable is just a coiled up spring. That's all it is. So you can take this whole cable out, lubricate it, and run it back in there, and just recondition this whole thing. It's easy peasy. Well, I tell you what, if anybody could ever figure out how to reuse that automatic flywheel on these engines, that would be a huge weight savings on the manuals, if you could use that with a manual. But it doesn't have the mating surface for the clutch, so not sure how you do that. Plus it's paper thin, so no idea how long it'd last. Okay, so something I think I might have forgotten to mention in my initial parts breakdown of doing this project is that you do need a pilot bearing, and it needs to be set in about that far. The automatics don't have pilot bearings, so this is a really important step. It just goes into the engine block and it just taps in. I used a 3/8 13 millimeter socket to tap it in there. It was just the right size to fit inside the hole as well as overlap the pilot bearing. So that's how I got it in there. I tapped it in with a hammer that has, let's see here, it's an old hammer that my Uncle John made. It looks like this. Here, I'll zoom it out. I used this guy, and I used the side and the flat end to tap it in, and this is a lot easier from underneath than it is from on top because of the EGR pipe. Now, if you have an EGR delete on these guys, which is totally doable, then this would probably be just fine from on top. Okay, so this is another one of those things that I wanted to get record of on this car. This is a 95 Escort, but it was built in late 94, so it's actually a early year Escort for 95. And so here is yet another sign. This is the original plate that goes between the transmission and the engine. Here it says 94 upside down, but actually can almost make it out there. It says 43, so 43rd week of 1994 is when that plate was made. And I've been seeing it all over inside the dash as well, and even in the passenger side door, that this car was built sometime in November of 1994, and it's actually technically not a 95, though it's built to the 95 specifications. So I'm working on getting these flywheel bolts in right now, and then I'm going to clean up this flywheel, put the clutch in, and get the flex plate on. But this flywheel will only go in one way, and the bolt holes will only line up one way, but there's two wrong ways that this will line up. So the best way to handle it is to have a bolt in hand, put it up there, and get it on enough to be able to spin it on the shaft a little bit, and then see where the bolt holes line up. Once you've got it lined up, then you can work a bolt in there. Make sure to back it off, loosen it until you feel the threads click, and then tighten it down, because if you don't, you will destroy the threads in there, and that's not going to be good at all. That'll be a very expensive repair bill. Wanted to get a showing of these in here. My great-grandfather made these wire cutters long time ago. This automatic transmission cable doesn't seem to have a way to come apart from what I could see, at least not easily. So I have no choice but to snip it out. So this car is very soon going to no longer be an automatic right about now. Oh man, might take two hands to do this. Here, can take two hands to do this. It's all metal, it's brass, so should be able to go through this no problem. Maybe I can do it with one hand. Goodness, this is tough stuff. Yeah, this is definitely two-hander. Boy. Oh, don't fall through the car. No. Okay. Balance it there. Yeah. There we go. It's always tricky getting a shot to do this stuff. All right, two-hander for sure. Here we go. You are... Holy moly. Might be angle grinder material. I'm getting through the rubber no problem. Yeah, I'm getting the angle grinder. Holy smokes. Don't forget to wear your safety gear, kids. Alrighty. Here goes a pesky automatic transmission cable. This whole thing should come out of here now. with a lot of tugging. There she goes. These zip ties need to come out. These are actually push zip ties. You push them up and they unlock. These are Ford's work, but I might just snip those. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm gonna just snip these out of here. A lot of these that I've been pulling out, a couple of them I've gotten in decent shape and they might be reusable, but a lot of these are just so old that they have become brittle, and you tug on them the right way and they just snap anyways. So, come on. So I'm gonna cut them out if I can. Come on, hands. It's hard to do this and film at the same time, as I'm sure you can imagine. Let's get this whole deal out of here. Harness and all that. It's just a one-man crew today. Just me. It was just me yesterday, too. I was moving pretty slow yesterday. Snip. Thank you. Let's try this one. And... come on. These are not very good wire cutters. Come on. Okay, those are off. Now we can pull this out. Bye, automatic transmission cable. No more auto. She is a manual. Okay, so when I took this guy off the other car, I noted that all of these flex plate bolts were only hand tight. I really only had to hold the flywheel on to get them to break loose. So I've done the same here. However, the flywheel bolts I have torqued on with my impact gun. I'm not sure how tight it put it on there, but plenty tight enough, I can tell you that. So that's the plan there. I've noticed while I was working in here, I noticed that this frame down here, it needs some work. And so, let's see here, camera to focus in on that, there we go. It needs some work, so I need to pull this motor mount out and wire wheel it, and then throw some rust treatment in here, because there's a little bit of rust here, a little bit there that I was trying to treat before, a little bit on the bottom. Yeah, so we're going to do that. Okay, so here's a better look at what we're dealing with here. There is indeed a little bit of rust down here at the bottom, right there, but it's not bad. And it's worth noting that I really only see this issue on autos for whatever reason. I think it's because the automatic transmission tends to hold onto water on top of it under the battery tray, and it causes this issue. Manuals don't usually have this problem. And here is my manual for reference. This guy has 252,000 miles on it, and as you can see, there's no rust in it at all on the frame. And believe me, this guy has been in the same environment as the other one. These are both Washington State cars. So it just goes to show that the autos do have this issue and that the manuals do not. Okay, so we're much further along in the day, having some clutch alignment issues, but I wanted to show this real quick. When you're doing these manual swaps, the master cylinder needs to go here on the firewall. And if you look deep in there, just under the wiring harness, oh look, there's a bolt there. If you loosen that bolt, there's a metal plate that covers the hole where the master cylinder goes, right there. Okay, so there's a bolt for this right above where the clutch pedal would go. This one doesn't have a clutch pedal, of course, being automatic. And one on this side of the firewall. There's the stud for it. Oh, there's the stud for it. It's kind of hard to find in there with all the wires. And once you've got it loose, you just grab the plate. Don't bother grabbing the stud. Grab the plate, and that whole plate should slide out of there. There's a paper gasket on it too, of all things. Slide that gasket out of there. Boom, there's the plate that covers the hole for the master clutch cylinder that goes right next to the master brake cylinder. Yeah, so you can use that however you like. It's real easy to pull that out of there. And it's just like the master clutch cylinder, where it has a singular bolt on one end and a stud on the firewall. Alrighty, I wanted to show this as well. There is no wiring for the clutch safety switch on the automatics. There's no plug for it, there's nothing, but these switches cause a lot of problems in these Escorts. They burn out all the time. So most people take them out anyways. Not really a loss here. Just don't start it in gear, which I never park it in gear. So I always park it in neutral unless I'm on a hill, but still, it's pretty easy to just remember to put it in neutral. And then this guy here, if you had cruise control on your Escort that you're swapping these pedals into, that clip there, it just presses in. You just squeeze it. Here, see if I can give you a little demonstration. Yeah, you just squeeze it like this, and it'll slide in and out of there, no problem, see? Just by squeezing it. And then the pneumatic switch for the cruise control goes right there. Here, I'll even thread it in because I have it. There it is. And what you want to do is you want to put the brake pedal up all the way, and then just thread this guy in so that it closes. So, in fact, you don't even thread it in, you just push. Oh, now I can thread it in. Okay. Yeah, so you want to do that until it completely closes. See, you'll see here, you see my stopper right there? You see how I can't, the stopper isn't touching anymore? I'm going to back that off until that stopper touches. But you also want to make sure that you're not so far back that your switch isn't going down. That. Right about there is good. Here we go. Alrighty, day 4, 11th hour. Wife and I got the transmission in. Need to tighten down bolts, put in a few more still yet, but it's in. The interior is about halfway put together now. Still got to put in tighten down pedals. Pedals are in. Still got to put in reservoir. That guy cracked while putting the engine in. Got to replace that. Still lots to do. I forgot to mention this. There's this little flap of rubber that you have to pull out. I didn't cut this or anything. It's already pre-cut from the factory. You just have to wiggle it out of there. But it's in the way of the clutch master cylinder and the link cable that goes to the clutch pedal. It's on the firewall, and you can pull this out from the driver's side of the firewall. Takes nothing to pull it out. Just don't forget to pull it out, because you'll be regretting it like I am right now. Alright, now this next segment is for my incredibly beautiful and supportive wife, who wanted to see how this instrument panel goes together. So here is all the wiring. This is the speedometer cable. I don't have this connected to the transmission, so I can pull this out nice and far. Here is the instrument gauge cluster. Here you can see all the lights and stuff. Actually, I want to throw one in there. I'll do that in a second. Okay. This instrument, or the speedometer cable, just clicks in right here. And like that. Clicks in. That ridge that you saw a minute ago is actually what holds that in. You have to squeeze this or put a screwdriver here in order to pop this out. This black connector goes on top, this white connector goes on the right, this white connector goes on the left, and the whole thing just slides in there. And then it's bolted down with 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts. That's it. Here's the wire connections. It's kind of hard to one-hand this. I put that light bulb in, that's why I stopped recording. 1. I might have to push the speedometer cable in a little bit. There we go. Okay. And 2. And where are you? There it is. And 3. That's it. Now I'm gonna go pull the speedometer cable after I set this up here so that it doesn't do this. I'm just gonna, there we go. Find a spot where it sticks and then go pull the speedometer cable. Which is right here. This one's actually gray conveniently. They're usually not gray. We get her lined up. That looks pretty spot on. All the bolt holes line up. And you just throw the 4 bolts in there, hook up the speedometer cable to the transmission, and that's it. Okay, so I just spent entirely too long trying to fix this heater switch. I actually do know how to fix it, but I dropped a metal wire that's important for the function of this switch when I was working on it. Can't find it, so I'm gonna have to order another one and try and cobble them together. All right, and here is how this big black piece goes in. So it's literally 1 clip here for the power window motor if you have power windows. And then this one's for the heater. Again, if you have this, usually the wiring is here, even if you don't have this. It's just in blanks or whatever, which is really cool. You can just add that stuff in if you have it. So it clicks in just like that. The whole thing slides up. There's metal clips that go into place down low that hold this all in. There they are. Boom. I'm getting her to crank over. Couldn't figure it out. Oh, there it is. Look, the cable is 1/4 the size it's supposed to be.